Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Kuntres and mine. Start by giving tzedakah. Gedol tzedakah shemekrev tzedakah. And also, we're going to have in mind all the yidden Eretz Yisroel, yidden around the world, and the soldiers specifically, and even more the unfortunate hostages that are still in captivity. They should come back healthy and safe. And we're going to focus on Yonatan ben Miriam. Hashem, Yonatan ben Miriam should have only good safety, security, and Hashem should come be able to listen to the shiur. It was in honor of him. Okay, continuing on. So we were talking yesterday about we started talking about shtus to kedusha. That what does it mean, shtus of kedusha? Folly, literally said folly or stupidity, insanity of kedusha. There's the derech ha'emes, the emtzai. There's the middle path, the natural logical path. Then you have natia turning either above that, which is shtus to kedusha, or below that, shtus to klippa. And shtus means, in simple, it's something that it's illogical. Now, there could be illogically positive or illogically negative. And you can have, it's a little bit like, maybe we could say, it's like lechatchila riba. Lechatchila riba is lechatchila, you go above, meaning it's not logical. There's a logical process of how to do it. Simple example you can always give is mivtayim, but we've got to think about it a little more in terms of ourselves. But when you go mivtayim, you go to an office, and you get your way in. And lechatchila, the logical way is to speak to the secretary and to try to get through the front door and do all the official routes. But from experience that generally that's not going to get you very far. For lechatchila, you go riba, you just go and you figure out how to sneak in, how to get in and do all these good things and get people to do mitzvahs. That's one example. And that's an idea of shtus. But it's not shtus, remember, shtus is something that's illogical. Is it a positive illogical? It's illogical that I'm going to get someone to tefillin, and even though I'm standing on the streets of Manhattan or Brooklyn or wherever I am, that's not a logical, that's not a seichel thing. To just sit there on a corner and get people to do mitzvahs, give out Shabbos candles, walk around the streets and offering Shabbos candles to people. That's not a regular thing. So that's the type of shtus to kedusha. But then, and so we were talking about also in the case of like the Navi. It was called a meshuga. And also the reason why they removed their clothing, because they got a level above before the Chet Eitzadas. And this is the stuff that we're talking about. Okay, bottom of page 371. Shekaru Ladavi b'shem meshuga, and this is why they called the Navi a meshuga, an insane person, because of the sin of the Eitzadas caused this feeling of ourselves, self-awareness, and the Nevi'im at the time of the Nevuah were above that. They didn't have that self-awareness. This is also the idea of it was well done, the shtus of this venerable sage. Meaning, like we said before, like I said yesterday, that the Chet Eitzadas caused an unhealthy sense of self. And we said, like the example we gave, like little kids, before they get to like 3 years old, they don't have a sense of self at all, and they're very free. And so too is saying that this venerable sage was the same idea, that that his shtus, sort of reaching that level that was like before the Chet, was very good. V'chein mash ama Akav ben Mahalel in Edius. Also, Akav ben Mahalel says in Mesechus Edius, Perakei Mishnavav, he says, "Mutav li leikare sheit." It's better for me that you call me a fool, call Yamai all the days of my life, then to be in a rush for an hour. So what's the story? So it says over there that Akav ben Mahalel provided testimony regarding 4 given laws. His colleagues told him, Akavia, retract from your opinion, and we will appoint you as the head of the Beis Din. They said to him, take away, like retract what you said, and you become the head of the Beis Din. So what did he say? Tedakavia, better that I not be called a fool all my life and not be wicked, even a moment, lest it be said that I retracted from my opinion for the sake of promotion for a higher office. So he said, I'm not going to do that because then I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. I'm doing it for ulterior motives. Yeah, and that's what he said. And this idea of what he did is b'chal the inyan of shtus kedusha. That it's like meaning halachically, meaning mitzad non-shtus, but in a healthy way, he retracts his opinion and becomes the head of the Beis Din. That's a very good thing. But he did this shtus, which was saying that it's a positive thing for him. And he said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I want to stick to my thing, which is a very good thing. We're saying it's above logic, but in a positive way. Which is the exact contrast to the negative shtus. I explained before, the shtus of klipa is something illogical, but in negative. Now, all different types. That turns him away from the path of truth. And the reason for the shtus of the negative is coming from the tree of knowledge that made this weird feeling of like self in an unhealthy way, that suddenly everything becomes warped. And that's why we do things that don't make sense. And a simple example of it is when we eat. Yeah, yesterday I was at a bringing, and a guy was saying, and we were talking about whatever. The guy was saying, he goes, I'm going to sleep. Why am I going to sleep? Not because I'm tired, because I need to go to sleep to have energy to come serve Hashem tomorrow. And he said, everything can be like that. Why am I eating? Not because I'm hungry. I'm eating because I need energy to serve Hashem. So I was thinking about the sleep a little bit, and it's like, I go to sleep, but I'm tired. And what he was saying is, you can change the perspective on it. Meaning, you're doing the same thing, but then you make it become very godly. And the problem with the Eitz Hadas caused that we have ulterior motives. That, why am I going to sleep? Because I'm tired. It became a very negative feeling of self. Suddenly everything becomes about us. And before that, it wasn't about us. That's why, like it says, that the Adam Chava, they were naked and they weren't embarrassed. But it wasn't about them. But suddenly they become self-aware, then everything became about them. And that's unhealthy. We should live lives, it's not about us, it's about the mission. And we don't recognize ourselves. It's like, when you're healthy, you don't feel your body. When you're unhealthy, so you feel your body. Like, you don't, normally you walk around, everything doesn't hurt. Suddenly, like, oh, my back hurts. So suddenly you recognize your back. So we shouldn't be recognizing ourselves so much. That's what we're saying. Kitter. Haskala haba b'sibas chedes hadas hi yirida mehamuskalia yisraeliki sheipusha dahai almo, that the intellect, intelligence that was used, we're talking about like it was before Eitz Hadas, but once came the Chet of Eitz Hadas, it became a little murky in this world. It's not like we're saying, but like we're saying that it becomes suddenly, we start to sense ourselves too much. Havshatas habgadim b'neviim v'ana lei shtus l'saba. The removal of the clothing, we talked about the removal of the clothing of the Nevi'im when they were doing Nevuah. And we're talking about the shtus l'saba, hu hayitzia me'hergash chush mativim, that the venerable sage that had his shtus, but in a positive way, which is, remember, feeling less of self. And that's why he didn't take the position, because if he would have taken the position, it would have been a shtus in a negative way. It would have been about him, and so retract your opinion, and then we'll make you the guy in charge. And he's like, if I retract my opinion to be the guy in charge, then it's about me, and this is a negative shtus. which that's above logic. Which is called shtus of kedusha. So simply, in simple sense, shtus is something we do. It's above logic. Yeah, that it's so to speak illogical, because logic would dictate something else, but we're going above that in a positive sense. Logic would dictate that I'm not able to do this, so I'm going to go do it anyway. Logic dictates I can't learn. I'm not a good learner, so I'm going to learn anyway. Logic dictates that I shouldn't be nice to that person, because that person did not nice to me, so I'm going to be nice to them anyway. That's what we're talking about. That's the shtus kedusha. Parak base. So let's keep on going. We want to try to finish this after. Yeah, Maimer Chav Vav Parak base. Last parak in this Maimer. Then we go to Chav Zayin and then Chav Ches. So let's explain this idea of shtus kedusha more. The Hine Elikimas is Adam Yasha. Hashem made us straight. We were born good. And because of the power of that godly feeling, that was given to us, we should be able to feel the truth. That all the good things, is good. And to raise ourselves up in cleaving to Hashem, and to His Torah, of mitzvah and His mitzvah. And how the opposite of that is ra umar b'tachlis, is bitter to the utmost. And all the calculations talking about before. How all the enticements and inclination that Yetzer Hara brings is all bad. Now, in truth, we should have naturally been able to feel it. So therefore, what happened? Why is it that we don't feel it that way? This is because of the chedes hadas. Meaning like this, a simple example. Smirking. Anyone that's sensitive to themselves, when they smirk, they will feel it. I know someone told me that they were healthy, in good shape, and that was back in the day, like in the 70s, maybe the 60s, whatever. And smoking was fashionable, so they took one day, took cigarettes, started smoking. So that day, at the end of the day, they stopped already. They were like, it's killing me. It's very unhealthy. I feel the difference. It's not good. That is called healthy. You're sensitive and you recognize these things. This is how it should be with Torah mitzvahs and averos. We should feel very clearly what's the right thing and what's the wrong thing. But because of the chedes hadas, that made it all murky. Suddenly, and we can, so to speak, smoke cigarettes and it feels good. It's a similar example. It's only that it's bad, very unhealthy. It even says it on the packets, and plenty of people still smoke. I don't know. I remember years ago when I was in Eretz Yisroel, smoking was very big. I don't know if it's changed since then, but I know it's big. And now it's a lot less common, but it was huge. And that's what I was saying. Natural sensitivity should have held them back from doing these things. But the Yetzer Hara and the Chet Eitz Hadas cause that to be able to be murky. And suddenly we're able to do these things. And so that's the mashal. The nimshal is smoking is like averos, doing things that are not what the nefesh kiss, not what Hashem wants from us. And how's it possible we do that? It doesn't make sense. And we do this all the time, unfortunately. Now, to be clear, it wasn't that there was no Yetzer Hara before the sin of the sin. Adam and Chava both had Yetzer Hara. Like it says in Brachos, Yitzar says, and he was formed with two yuds. Shnei yidden, Shnei Yitzrim. What does the two yuds represent? The apostle only needs to use one yud, and the word by Yitzar only needs to be Vav Yud Tzadik Reish, but it's Vav Yud Yud. Why is it two yuds? One for the two yates, two inclinations. It's a hurry, it's a tev. Ella shaz hayaboy take if I hegesh heliki had the strength of the godly feeling. Ad shaloi hirgish in yanim hativim until he didn't feel these natural feelings. Canal b'shem Miriam like I said before about the Miriam from the Miriam Nevuchim shahaya bo yidia muskal yesh v'lo higish klal yidiat amur some years that like we said from the Miriam Nevuchim, it's not a mile that they feel themselves. Before they didn't feel themselves, it was more just feeling godliness and kind of godliness. Feeling when we, also just to be clear, when we say feeling ourselves, meaning feeling ourselves as separate entities to Hashem, that we have our own needs and wants outside of the needs and wants that we are brought here for. Because they felt so strongly godliness. But after the Chet it became the opposite in the feeling of nature. I know that it felt very good when they ate the cheesecake. When they ate the cake, that's unhealthy for us, but it felt good. Before that, I would eat the cake and I'd feel, it's so unhealthy for me. What am I eating this? But after the Chet Adas, their feelings became involved. And suddenly like, that feels good. And all those types of feelings, it feels very much. Suddenly, all these things are unhealthy, but it feels cool to smoke. And it's like, don't you feel that it's like unhealthy for you? I'm like, it becomes murky. Suddenly they don't notice that. That unfortunately causes us to become desensitized to godliness. To make us be able to feel his goodness, as we explained. And that's what desensitizes us. And we're going to have to stop here, but I'm tomorrow, in the next class, we're going to finish and go to Maimon Chav Zayin, coming to the end. So I want to wish everyone a great day. Thank you for joining, and let's be sensitive.